Hello, my name is Declan McGlynn and welcome to this week's Plugin of the Week, where I'm always delighted to be joined by Jesse Concato.
Always delighted to be here.
Yeah. So we're going to dive into some plugins in a second. I mean, you know, as you can see behind us, we've got some students coming out of the classroom.
You can see, you can hear.
Yeah, we were just listening to what they were working on in the mixing module. Sounded awesome.
Yeah, it sounded really
SSL,
cool. Yeah, it sounded really, really good.
Yeah, and it's a bustling place to be as always. And if you want to come and check it out, make sure you hit that contact us button on our website, pointblankmusicschool.com, and you can come and have your very own tour. I think there's one later on today.
There's one later on today, and we also have
on
an open house on Friday night.
Yes, we do, tomorrow.
We have an open...
Very exciting. We've got
yes.
Alex Banks
Friday,
from Monkey Town Records.
In 2 days.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
It's all blurring into one.
All blurring in, absolutely. So,
we got Alex Banks coming down.
Yeah.
We got Ski.
Doing a deconstruction, absolutely.
Prince. It's Prince.
I know.
It's going to be very emotional, not a dry eye in the house.
I know.
And on Saturday, the next day after that, 3 days away, we'll have another tour at 12:30. So if you want to come check out this
absolutely. For the open house, there may be some space. Check the website if there are some spaces available on Friday. We're also probably going to live stream it, so you can join us on Facebook, YouTube as well, from anywhere in the world.
Just like you are right now. And we are going to show you guys the Solina V.
Yes.
Arturia.
Yeah, we thought, okay, which plugin? So,
Arturia have been kind of kings of this assets for a long time.
Of the kind of module, recreation of using physical modeling, so it's not sample based.
Yeah.
And none of their plugins are sample based. It's all modeling, physical modeling, as far as I know.
Yeah.
I love the Solina because it's one of those really, really simple hardware. I've worked a lot with the hardware. That's why I thought, when it came out, I was really excited.
Very early since, doesn't it?
It's been released quite a few years back. I mean, but I was really excited.
The usual kind of like envelopes that you might expect.
Exactly, and one of the projects I was working with, I had one Solina, so it was pretty much on every track, even if it was a tiny note in the background, filling in the gap. You know, that's what it's great for. I mean, it's one of the things that it's great for. And after that, I didn't have one, obviously, so I use sample, and it's not quite the same because they're always the same. And what you want is that kind of a bit random modulation,
like we had with the Eventide last week.
Absolutely,
it's constantly, subtly fluctuating the pitch.
Exactly, absolutely.
Chorusing against itself.
So should we dive into quickly looking at the interface? It's very basic. It doesn't do much. A bit of history on the Solina. It came on 74, I think, the ARP module. First record, probably one of the first records it was on was Jean-Michel Jarre, Equinox, Oxygen, released in 76. Although I have read from the manual that it was on the Solina on those records.
Okay.
Effectively, those strings machines are coming from the organ market. You know, the kind of home organ market in the 70s. You had your Hammond and stuff for big stages, but not every band could fill in. And there was a need for strings, for keyboard player to be able to play sound strings and lush sound on stage, you know, in the 70s. And the only alternative you had was the Mellotron, unreliable. It's an 8-second loop, pretty big, pretty expensive. Yeah. So there wasn't, a market. And a company called, I forgot the name of it now, Eminent, I believe, was making organ and realized some people really like the string section of the organ. So they released a model of its own that eventually they made a deal with Harp and it became the Harp Solina. But Harp Solina is actually the biggest selling device and they didn't design it in that way.
Oh, Harp's biggest selling device?
Yes, it's the biggest selling device that they've ever done, and they didn't design it. They just packaged it, basically. Yeah. But it's a great device. If you're looking for realistic strings, let's say that's not where to go. It doesn't sound like real strings, but it's a great pad machine, the way it fits into the tracks and it blends in a way. So let's the basic interface of the Solina is that. And it's one of those synths that they used to call them paraphonic synths. We can talk quickly about it, but basically you can split the keyboard and normally you would have the bass sound here. It has its own volume. And in the bass sound, I can have a contra cello or a cello. All it is the same sound, 1 octave lower basically, or higher.
Yeah. You can have both at the same time.
Yeah. Let me check here. I mean, I'm on split mode. I'm gonna go up to, let's say here, which is the typical setup on a real Solina was the first 20 or 22 keys were the bass, and then the strings after that. yeah, so here I'm going to turn it and just going to have the bass, the cello, or the contrast. So you see that's in its most simple form, and you've got a control for it. And then obviously the strings part, the upper keyboard where you can do chords. Nothing plays at the moment. I need to bring up the sound. And here they are. Let me cut that, and let me make it as nasty as possible.
Still not that nasty though.
It's still not quite nasty, and I'm going to open it to see if there's anything playing, maybe. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff playing. We'll talk about that quickly. Yeah, I want to keep it as kind of like, for me, that was the starting point of a Solina. So let's go there. Yeah. Quite
beautiful.
Nasty. That's the viola sound, and then 1 octave higher,
That's
the violin.
crazy how different it is.
It's crazy, isn't it? You can show, it really shows for me, the modulation is the thing really making it work, those devices. You know, in its pure form, it's quite a nasty south tooth.
Yeah.
I still think the Solina, the hardware, was even more nasty than that, just a tad. But as soon as it's obviously a bit boring, but then we start putting some sustain and the crescendo is the attack, effectively. Straight away it's a bit better. And then we've got this magic button, ensemble, which is a kind of a chorus ensemble effect.
Yeah,
Immediately.
70s.
You know,
Classic
straight
sound.
away, we're there straight away. It sounds awesome. And then you had trumpet sound as well that you could add. Gives a little bit more back. And horns. Now, one interesting thing is when you put horns, trumpet can't work, don't sound. You see, there's no difference.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you can have those three sounds together, those three here. So it's, you know, and it's basically that's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Instantly
you can,
recognizable.
straight away it's recognizable. So obviously, as you've seen when we opened that, there's a bit more parameters that suddenly becomes available that were not in the original design. There's one thing to be interesting as well, if you're guys interested, the difference between polyparaphonic. Paraphonic is basically you can play several voice, therefore polyphony notes, but they all go through the same envelope. What it means is that you see here there's a slow envelope, and then if I play another note, it's immediate because the envelope is shared. The envelope has been used by that key and all the other one, but it could be useful, I suppose, back in the days to, let's say you make a chord here, a pad, and then you know, that kind of stuff.
You don't want them all, every
you
note
don't,
swelling.
exactly. So the other ones that come after the chords are not swelling. They have this kind of straight attack.
Makes sense.
That's for example. But the Solina V from Arturia has got this poly function, and then it becomes like a normal polyphonic, and therefore now, you see the difference, those notes that I play afterwards still follow, they have their own filter, they have their own envelope.
Yeah.
Basic stuff. Now, so straight away, yeah, let's put some bass as well into it. And sounds really, really lovely. So the one thing about this Solina is it does a little bit more.
It does indeed. This is all Arturia stuff. They added this.
Yes, as far as I know, I don't think the original Solina had any of these. I've never opened. But maybe I've missed a trick.
Yeah,
for 2 years it was there the whole time, and I was like, okay. Well, I mean, I've used it a certain way. It had its purpose. You will see the first thing you will notice is really cool thing is that the first Solina was mono, and then later model became stereo.
Yeah.
Maybe the last model, I can't remember for sure. But this ensemble here, you see here, as soon as you go into advanced mode, which is called opened, you can select the ensemble to be stereo, mono or stereo. Big difference. You really hear it. I don't know any of you guys. We are listening in mono here, obviously, but on headphones and stuff, you would really hear that well. So one interesting thing, also in this open mode, you've got this humana, which is kind of a voice choir that few paraphonic synths had in the 70s as well. Let's take it off. Let's have a listen on its own.
Yes. Thing is, like, none of it really sounds like what it was intended to sound like.
Absolutely
so often
not.
the case with those things.
Absolutely, but there's
that
so
doesn't
much
mean
you
they're
can
bad.
do. Absolutely. So let's start with that, and then you'll see on the side as well we've got this thing that sends into a reverb.
Yeah.
And then a couple of send effects, 1 and 2, that are going to those effects. So you've got here few FX1, phaser or chorus, and here FX2, digital delay or analog delay. So I mean, if you get for that kind of sound, for example, then let's start phasing a little bit of that.
Even more 70s.
And you know, straight away we really can start doing interesting stuff with it, and obviously a little bit more of that, a little bit more feedback. I love the sound of this phaser. There's something about it, and what's great about this, everything is assignable. So all those parameters you can assign to a CC and start controlling them live. So straight away you're starting to see now the string machine is starting to become a little bit of a synth. Very simple synth. Some very cool options, obviously. Arpeggiator. What would you do without an arpeggiator nowadays? You don't know. I would hate to think that the world could be without an arpeggiator. So here is the arpeggiator is only for the bass.
Yeah.
Bear that in mind. So we've got that. On the LFO as well, you've got a bass cut, so you could start bringing.
Only modulate the upper section.
So I'm going to put the mode wheel now on. Starting to sound quite. All the modulation that's going on becomes a lot more interesting. For the bass, you also have a cutoff. It has its own cutoff and resonance with an envelope amount as well. Not quite getting as much as I wanted to.
Yeah, you can hear on the vibrato.
You really hear the vibrator on the cello, especially on the higher note. So we've got that, combine it with a LFO. Straight away it's become a lot more interesting. And then you can dose how much of it you want on your modulation key here. And straight away it's become a lot more powerful. And finally here we also have this upper resonator. What it is, it's more based, it's a mixture of EQ and filter as we know them in synth.
Yeah.
You see you've got range, a frequency range here, 60 to about 300 to 2.5, and 1.5, 1.5.
It's kind of similar to organ drawbars.
Exactly.
Just kind of throw back to the original design.
Yeah, so let's start bringing that. Let's start to bring a bit of volume. So we still have a gain. So we're more. Let's do it on the higher frequency in the mid.
That's nasty.
It's nasty. But what I love about it is it's not quite. It's still more subtle. We've pushed it quite a bit. I mean, I've got a lot of resonance, and I was pushing the filter itself quite, but still not doing that kind of filtering because it's a blend of how much you apply. You've got the gain. So it's kind of, I love this idea of cross EQ, cross filter. It gives you interesting level. So, yeah, that's pretty much the overhaul of the.
Yeah, I mean, it looks simple on the surface, but once you start to dive into the,
have you seen? And as soon as I think
splitting the keyboard, individual modulation splits as well.
Doing the modulation and start automating some of those parameters, you know.
Some of the effects are really good.
And then suddenly you've got an really interesting pair. And obviously you've got this classic sound. Let's put it back into here, for example. Really hairy string.
Yeah, you can either dive in and do all of the upper resonators, or you can just use it to create that swirl.
That swirl, and you know, like I said, this classic. really high notes in a mix. I mean, disco house, all that kind of stuff. As soon as you need to fill the gap a little bit and it gels everything around, really works a treat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, big favorite.
How much does that cost now?
I don't know.
I think it's like on the whole V collection.
The whole V collection is they make absolutely. I'm a big fan of a Moog modular as well. I think we'll do a Moog modular.
We'll take another look at that one soon.
Definitely.
So there you go. That's the Solina V from Arturia, and as you can see behind me, the students are all heading back into their classrooms. And if you want to join them, you can come and check out our school on Wednesdays at 5:30 or 12:30 on Saturday mornings. Just go to the Contact Us page on our website, pointblankmusicschool.com. And if you're around London on Friday, make sure you come and check out our open house happening right here in this space.
Absolutely.
So we got Alex Banks from Monkey Town Records.
We'll be here.
We'll be here. If you
we'll
want
be
to come
here.
And meet us, or,
come and have a chat.
Yeah, and Ski will be here deconstructing prints. Which I'm looking forward to.
Absolutely, we'll be dancing in the background.
We'll be dancing, yeah, with a tear in our eye.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and make sure you stay tuned to our Facebook page for more plugin of the week coming soon. We'll see you then. Cheers.
Cheers.